There exists a silent moment in every relationship where the light shifts, where fascination turns to familiarity, where presence becomes background noise. This moment arrives not with warning, not with confrontation, but with the slow withdrawal of attention. And the brutal truth most refuse to accept is this: people do not leave because you failed to give them enough. They leave because you gave them everything. You became predictable, transparent, safe. And in that safety, you lost the very quality that drew them to you in the first place. Most spend their lives believing that connection is built through availability, through consistency, through making themselves known. They open themselves completely, offering their thoughts, their time, their vulnerabilities like gifts at an altar. They believe this is intimacy. They believe this is love. But what they create is not closeness. It is saturation. It is the death of mystery. And with mystery dies desire. Consider the colleague who once sought your advice at every turn. Your insights felt valuable. Your perspective felt necessary. Then one day, the messages slowed. The meetings became shorter. The questions stopped coming. You did not change. Your wisdom did not diminish. But your currency did. Because you made yourself too available. You answered every call. You solved every problem. You became a resource instead of a rarity. And resources, no matter how valuable, are never cherished the way rare things are. This is not about manipulation. This is not about playing games. This is about understanding a fundamental law of human nature. Value is not determined by what you offer, but by how difficult it is to obtain. The air you breathe is essential to your survival, yet you never think about it. The diamond in the earth is functionally useless, yet empires have been built pursuing it. Scarcity creates value. Abundance creates indifference. When you lose someone's interest, you did not become less worthy. You became less scarce. 1. The principle of the closed door. There is a room in your mind that people want to enter. They press against the door. They knock. They wonder what treasures lie beyond the threshold. And so long as that door remains closed, so long as you guard what is sacred within you, they will remain fascinated. But the moment you swing that door wide open, the moment you allow them to wander freely through every corner of your interior world, something fundamental changes. The mystery evaporates. The desire to enter fades, because there is nothing left to discover. People are drawn not to those who reveal everything, but to those who reveal selectively. The one who shares their entire story in the first conversation is forgotten by the second. The one who offers glimpses, who speaks in layers, who leaves certain questions unanswered. This person haunts the mind long after they have left the room. Watch a master conversationalist. They do not dominate with endless monologues about themselves. They do not fill every silence with explanations. They offer pieces, fragments, carefully chosen details that create intrigue rather than conclusion. When asked about their past, they might share one vivid memory, but they do not chronicle their entire history. When asked about their beliefs, they might reveal one conviction, but they do not lay out their entire philosophy. They understand that revelation is not a single act, but a slow unfolding. And in that unfolding, interest is sustained. Consider the leader who shares every decision process, every doubt, every calculation with their team. At first, this transparency feels like respect. It feels like inclusion. But over time, something shifts. The team stops seeing a leader and starts seeing a peer. The authority diminishes not because the decisions were wrong, but because the mystique was destroyed. Leadership requires a degree of distance, not coldness, not cruelty, but boundary. The most effective leaders know when to share and when to withhold. They understand that some spaces must remain closed, not because they are hiding something shameful, but because certain aspects of power require separation. This applies to friendship, to romance, to professional relationships, to every human connection. The friend who texts every thought, who shares every minor event, who makes themselves constantly available. They become wallpaper, present but unnoticed. The friend who appears occasionally, who brings something meaningful when they do, who maintains their own mysterious life outside the friendship. They remain interesting. They remain valued, because they remain rare. You do not lose interest by withholding everything. You lose interest by withholding nothing. The closed door is not a barrier. It is an invitation to value what lies beyond it. 2. The currency of need. There exists a transaction in every human relationship, though most never acknowledge it. One person holds something the other desires: attention, validation, wisdom, entertainment, power. So long as this exchange remains balanced, so long as both parties possess something the other wants, the relationship thrives. But the moment one person needs more than they offer, the moment dependency replaces reciprocity, the dynamic collapses, and the person who needs more always loses. You see this most clearly in romantic relationships. In the beginning, both parties are mysteries to each other. Both hold unexplored territories. Both have lives, ambitions, interests that exist independently. The attraction is mutual because the value is mutual. But then something shifts. One person begins to orbit the other. Their happiness becomes dependent on the other's approval. Their schedule becomes shaped by the other's availability. Their identity becomes defined by the relationship itself. And in that moment, they stop being a partner and become a burden. The person who needs you will do anything to keep you. The person who does not need you will do everything to keep you interested. This is the paradox of desire. The moment you make someone your entire world, you become less interesting to them, because you have nothing left outside of them. You bring nothing new to the table. Every conversation circles back to the relationship. Every decision is filtered through their needs. Every emotion is a reaction to their behavior. You stop being a person and become a reflection. Observe the professional who makes their career their entire identity. They network aggressively. They attend every event. They make themselves available to every opportunity. But their desperation is palpable. Their need for validation seeps through every interaction. And so they are passed over, not because they lack skill, but because they lack self-containment. The most sought-after professionals are those who seem complete without the next promotion, without the next deal, without the next achievement. They are interesting because they do not need you to validate them. This is not about pretending indifference. This is not about manufacturing detachment. This is about building a life so rich, so full, so independently valuable that relationships become an addition rather than the foundation. When your happiness, your purpose, your sense of self exist independently of any single person, you become magnetic, because you are offering connection from a place of wholeness rather than asking for it from a place of emptiness. The beggar and the king both ask for things, but only one is desired in return. People do not lose interest because you stopped being enough. They lose interest because you needed them too much. 3. The death of challenge. Human beings are wired for pursuit. The hunter does not desire the prey already caught. The climber does not dream of the mountain already summoned. The mind craves obstacle, resistance, the satisfaction of overcoming. And in relationships, this principle holds absolute authority. The moment someone feels they have completely won you, the moment they believe they have conquered your attention, your affection, your approval, that is the moment they begin to lose interest. You see this in courtship. The one who agrees to everything, who makes themselves always available, who never pushes back, who never maintains any standard. They are conquered quickly and forgotten just as fast. There is no challenge, no resistance, no need for effort. And without effort, there is no value. The person who maintains boundaries, who has standards, who occasionally says no, who demonstrates that access to them must be earned, this person remains perpetually interesting because they have not been fully conquered. This is why relationships that begin with intensity often die with indifference. In the beginning, both people are performing at their highest level. They are charming, mysterious, unpredictable. They are bringing their best conversation, their best appearance, their best energy. But once comfort sets in, once commitment is established, the performance ends. They stop trying. They assume the other person is now locked in, now guaranteed. And in that assumption, they kill the very thing that created attraction in the first place. Consider the business that makes acquisition easy but retention effortless. They offer discounts to new customers. They create elaborate campaigns to draw people in. But once you are a customer, once you are subscribed, once you are committed, the attention disappears. No special offers, no personalized service, no reason to stay engaged. And so customers leave, not because the product failed, but because the relationship became stagnant. The businesses that thrive are those that continue to challenge, to surprise, to make you feel that your loyalty is valued rather than assumed. The same principle applies to personal development. The moment you stop growing, the moment you stop pursuing new knowledge, new skills, new perspectives, you become less interesting to those around you. Because you have stopped being a source of challenge. You have stopped bringing new energy into the dynamic. You have become static, and static things, no matter how beautiful they once were, eventually blend into the background. This is not about playing hard to get. This is not about intentionally creating obstacles where none should exist. This is about maintaining your own standards, your own growth, your own sense of self-worth that does not dissolve the moment someone shows you attention. It is about being someone who cannot be taken for granted, someone who continues to evolve, to surprise, to demonstrate that access to you is not a right, but a privilege that must be continuously earned. The conquered territory is no longer exciting. The unconquerable remains forever fascinating. 4. The poison of overinvestment. There is a precise moment in every relationship where investment becomes overinvestment, where care becomes suffocation, where attention becomes surveillance. And most never see this line until they have crossed it so far that the damage is irreversible. They believe more effort equals more value. They believe more time equals more connection. They believe more sacrifice equals more appreciation. But what they create is not love. It is pressure. And pressure, when applied continuously, does not strengthen bonds. It breaks them. You see this in the parent who does everything for their child. Every homework assignment checked. Every problem solved. Every challenge removed. They believe they are showing love. They believe they are being a good parent. But what they are actually doing is removing the child's need to develop independence. And when that child grows, they do not feel gratitude. They feel resentment, because they were never allowed to become their own person. The best parents know when to step back, when to let struggle occur, when to allow failure to teach what protection never could. This pattern repeats in romantic relationships. The person who texts constantly throughout the day, who needs to know where their partner is at every moment, who structures their entire existence around the relationship, who sacrifices every personal interest, every friendship, every independent activity for the sake of togetherness. They believe this is devotion, but what it creates is claustrophobia. Because the other person no longer has space to miss them, space to want them, space to choose them freely. They are simply always there, always present, always demanding attention through their very availability. Watch what happens in professional mentorship. The mentor who gives everything, every contact, every secret, every strategy, believing they are being generous. At first, the mentee is grateful, but over time, something shifts. The mentee stops seeking advice, stops reaching out, stops valuing the relationship, because they extracted everything of value. The mentor who overinvested created dependency, but dependency without struggle creates no loyalty. The most effective mentors give carefully, strategically, making the mentee work for each piece of wisdom. This creates respect. This creates lasting value. The fundamental error is believing that the person who gives more wins. But in human relationships, the person who gives more often loses, because they disturb the balance of exchange. They create debt that can never be repaid. And humans, when faced with unpayable debt, do not respond with gratitude. They respond with avoidance. They distance themselves from the person who has given so much because the weight of obligation has become unbearable. This is why the most magnetic people are those who invest proportionally. They match energy. They meet effort with effort. They do not rush ahead, trying to force connection through sheer volume of care. They allow relationships to develop at a natural pace, giving space for reciprocity, for mutual investment, for balanced exchange. They understand that sustainable relationships are built on a quality of effort, not one-sided devotion. The river that overflows its banks does not nourish the land. It destroys it. 5. The illusion of permanence. Human beings operate under a dangerous assumption. That which is present today will remain present tomorrow. This assumption governs every relationship. The friend who is always available will always be available. The partner who is deeply invested will always be deeply invested. The colleague who values your input will always value your input. And so people stop trying. They stop earning. They stop appreciating, because they believe permanence is guaranteed once initial connection is established. But nothing in human relationship is permanent. Everything is conditional, and the condition is continued value, continued mystery, continued reason to pay attention. The moment that condition is no longer met, interest does not decline gradually. It vanishes suddenly, though the signs were present all along. Consider the long-term friendship that ends seemingly without reason. For years, you were inseparable. Every weekend together, every major life decision discussed together, every triumph and failure shared. Then slowly, imperceptibly, the calls become less frequent. The meetings become more rushed. The conversations become more surface. And one day you realize you have not spoken in months. What happened? Nothing dramatic. No fight. No betrayal. Simply this. One person evolved, grew, changed direction, and the other remained static. The friendship ended not because of malice, but because of irrelevance. Because the assumption of permanence prevented both parties from continuing to earn each other's presence. This is why long-term relationships require more effort than new ones, not less. In a new relationship, both people are performing, trying, earning. But in established relationships, comfort breeds complacency. The assumption that they will always be there removes the motivation to remain interesting, to continue growing, to keep offering value. And so the relationship dies slowly, one unremarkable day at a time, until both people wake up and realize they are strangers who share history but no longer share present. The professional who assumes their position is secure because of past performance discovers this truth harshly. The market does not care what you did last year. The client does not care about your previous successes. They care about what you are offering now, today, in this moment. And if your current value does not match your past value, you are replaced, not with anger, not with ceremony, simply with someone who offers more. The illusion of permanence creates complacency, and complacency creates obsolescence. This applies even to personal identity. The person you were 5 years ago is not the person you are today. And if you cling to that old identity, if you refuse to evolve, if you build your life on the assumption that who you were is enough, you become increasingly irrelevant to those around you, because they are evolving, they are changing. And if you are not moving with them, you are falling behind. The solution is not anxiety. The solution is not desperate attempt to control every relationship. The solution is understanding that earning never stops, that the work of being interesting, being valuable, being worthy of attention, this work is perpetual. You do not win someone once and keep them forever. You win them continuously, day after day, through your growth, your evolution, your refusal to become stagnant. Nothing lasts by assumption. Everything lasts through effort. 6. The art of ending. Most people do not know when to leave. They overstay every conversation, every relationship, every situation. They believe that more time equals more connection, that lingering creates deeper bonds. But the opposite is true. The person who knows when to exit, who leaves while still wanted, who understands the power of the well-timed departure, this person is never forgotten. There is an art to ending well. The conversation that concludes at its peak, leaving both parties wanting more, creates longing for the next encounter. The visit that ends before welcome is worn creates anticipation for the next arrival. The relationship that concludes with grace, before resentment has poisoned memory, preserves the possibility of respect. But most stretch every interaction past its natural conclusion, draining every moment of energy until nothing remains but exhaustion. Consider the performer who delivers a perfect set and exits the stage immediately. No encores, no prolonged bowing, no desperate attempt to squeeze more applause from an audience already satisfied. They understand that the lasting impression is not created by how long you stay, but by how you leave. The audience leaves wanting more, and that wanting ensures they will return. Compare this to the performer who refuses to leave, who plays song after song until the crowd begins to thin, until the energy has fully dissipated, until the memory of the performance is tainted by its excessive length. This principle extends to every form of human interaction. The employee who leaves a company at the peak of their value, who exits while still respected and desired, maintains their reputation and creates opportunity for return. The employee who stays too long, who clings to a position past their relevance, becomes a burden rather than an asset. The timing of departure determines whether you are remembered fondly or forgotten with relief. Even in romantic relationships, those who know when to end create better outcomes than those who cling desperately to something already dead. The relationship that concludes when both parties still have love but recognize incompatibility ends with dignity. Both people move forward carrying respect rather than resentment, but most wait until love has curdled into contempt, until every good memory has been overshadowed by conflict, until the only feeling remaining is relief that it is finally over. The error is believing that persistence equals commitment, that staying equals loyalty. But sometimes the most loving act is knowing when to let go. Sometimes the greatest respect you can show someone is releasing them before you become a burden. Sometimes the wisest decision is walking away while you are still missed rather than staying until you are resented. This requires awareness most people never develop. The ability to read a room, to sense when energy is shifting, to recognize when you have given your best and further presence will only diminish what has already been created. It requires confidence, the knowledge that your value is not determined by how long you occupy space, but by the quality of presence you bring while there. The guest who leaves the party at midnight is invited back. The guest who stays until dawn, long after everyone else has left, is tolerated but not welcomed next time. The conversation partner who knows when to pause, when to create space, becomes someone others seek out. The conversation partner who dominates, who refuses to yield, who continues speaking long after interest has faded, becomes someone others avoid. The most powerful position is not being the last to leave. It is being the first to be missed after you are gone. In the end, people do not lose interest because you were insufficient. They lose interest because you made yourself too available, too predictable, too conquered. You revealed everything and left nothing to discover. You needed more than you offered. You stopped presenting challenge and started providing comfort. You overinvested until your presence became pressure. You assumed permanence and stopped earning. You stayed too long and forgot the power of the well-timed exit. The solution is not manipulation. It is not cruelty. It is not game playing or artificial distance. The solution is simpler and more demanding. Become someone worth remaining interested in. Build a life so compelling that your presence is an addition, not a necessity. Maintain mystery not through deception, but through depth, by being someone who cannot be fully known in a single conversation, a single month, a single year. Offer value but never at the expense of yourself. Grow continuously so that tomorrow's version of you is more interesting than today's. Know when to stay and when to leave. Master the balance between availability and scarcity. Understand that sustained interest is not captured. It is earned, repeatedly, without end. You do not lose people by being yourself. You lose them by being too much of yourself, too soon, too constantly, without restraint or boundary or awareness. The ones who remain fascinating are not the ones who give everything. They are the ones who give enough to create desire, but never so much that desire is satisfied. They are the closed door that invites knocking. They are the challenge that demands pursuit. They are the presence that is valued because it can be lost. Interest is not maintained through effort alone. It is maintained through wisdom. The wisdom to know what to reveal and what to protect, when to give and when to withhold, how to be present without being permanent, how to care without becoming consumed. This wisdom separates those who are cherished from those who are taken for granted. those who are pursued from those who pursue, those who are remembered from those who are forgotten. In a world that teaches you to open completely, to give endlessly, to make yourself entirely known, the rare power belongs to those who understand restraint. Not coldness, not withholding love, but the sophisticated knowledge that value is created not just by what you offer, but by what you choose to keep sacred. That interest is sustained not just by presence, but by the space between presence. That connection is deepened not just by revelation, but by the mysteries that remain unrevealed. Master this, and you will never wonder why people lose interest, because they will not. They will remain perpetually curious, perpetually engaged, perpetually aware that they have not yet discovered everything you contain. And in that awareness, interest transforms from a fleeting spark into an enduring flame.